ting must be the cad collar. Okay, that's weird. I've been up a lot steeper hills than that. I wonder if my four-wheel drive's engaging. Come to think of it, my four-wheel drive light did not come on when I came back in this area. That sounds like the cad collar just not engaging the four-wheel drive. Huh. My rear wheels are just hitting that slick mud, and my front are not in four-wheel drive, so I'm kind of stuck here. I think it's time for a massive two-wheel drive send. Welcome back to another episode of Eric's Camping Adventures. We're going to go on another search today looking for some beautiful places. This episode begins with a quiet overnighter at the Hurricane Creek and heading up to White Rock Mountain, down to Shores Lake, and then to the Mulberry River. We get a little fishing in, a little camping, a little cooking. Come along for the journey. This air in the shade and the cool of the mountain in the morning just really feels good compared to the weather we've been having. 100, 102 degrees and a little bit more coming back week after next. Yeah, what a beautiful morning. It's about 8:30. Just a beautiful area. I've never actually been here in the full of summer because who would have predicted 80 degrees in the middle of summer in Arkansas? So this is just really beautiful. I think everybody else is probably in disbelief inside. We checked the weather and we knew this was going to be a good one. I was actually planning an escape up a little bit further north to really get the cool. Brian contacted me, and we initially were going to go north, but then we just decided to head over to Arkansas to this area here. I'm glad we came here. This is pretty. There's a little pull out here on the left. There was a lot of empty dispersed campsites up through the National Forest here. This is a pullout for an overlook over Shores Lake, and I don't see any reason why one couldn't disperse camp right here. It's a beautiful spot. There's no signs that say no disperse camping, and what a view. We hit some pavement down near the Shores Lake and the Shores Lake campground, and that's where we stopped for a little while to do some fishing. You got one? Got me one. You're saying I need to use a worm, huh? I had some movement over here with one of my casts, but nothing did. Brian caught himself about an 8-inch long smallmouth bass. I caught weeds. I caught a little bit of grass and some algae. Not enough for dinner. We decided to wander onwards to the Mulberry River. We initially thought we would head for the Redding campground, the Redding recreation area, but then we found some dispersed camping along the way. It didn't take long to hit dirt again after we left the Shores Lake area. We were enticed by several of these pull-offs to the right, but then we found the one we wanted. We did not probe these water-filled ruts. I just watched Brian go through them and saw how deep they were. And then I proceeded. I thought I was in four-wheel drive, but apparently not. Right up on top the bank of the river, there was a large dispersed campsite with a fire ring right in the middle. Perfect. So we moved on from White Rock Mountain to Shores Lake, and just kind of looking for maybe some better chances at fishing. And we decided that we would look for some dispersed camping along the Mulberry River, and we came up with a really good spot.
Brian was a little bit concerned about the weather that was coming through. There was some rain coming through, coming from the west. So he was going to go check on that. I was a little bit tempted to head down by the riverbank, but there was a steep little downhill there that if it got wet with rain, could be a little bit of trouble getting out. Didn't have to be too concerned about water flooding because the Mulberry River comes from the east, not the west.
That's the Mulberry River. We just have to decide if we're going to camp up top by the fire ring or if we're going to come down here. Let me show you the spot. So Brian went into town to get a signal, see what the weather forecast is, see if there's going to be any rain. Obviously from the tread marks and the loosened dirt, others have been able to get up and down this little hill. Not sure why we couldn't get up and down here while it's dry. While I was exploring around the campsite, I got a text from Brian that he had picked up a nail on the road and he had to drive all the way into Fort Smith, Arkansas to get his tire repaired. There are some other things that happened on this trip that did not make the video, but we'll keep those off the video. Maybe I'll tell you about them a little bit later. I really did not understand why fire rings or fire pits become trash cans out here in the backcountry. If it is burned, it's really not healthy chemicals to be breathing plastic fumes sitting around a campfire. So just pick up your trash, throw it away. I just had to dispose of this in my Himmel bag if we decided to use the fire ring later. I saw a couple vehicles go up and down this little path down to the Mulberry River, so I decided I would try it. Brian was going to be a while getting his tire fixed, so I might as well have a little fun. I decided to pull on in and just set up. Tried to leave enough room for Brian to come right in here, set up with his rooftop tent. I like it.
After a little bit of reading, a little just taking in the sounds of nature and the quietness, I went and picked up my fishing pole. There were some trout in the river here that were following my little Rapala, but they didn't bite. They just followed it. It was a pleasure watching them, but I didn't get to catch any again. This is black bear country, so make sure you take necessary precautions. Eventually, Brian got back from getting reception, checking on the weather, getting his tire fixed, and making it down to the riverbed.
Your tire is sliding.
We parked in the cool shade off that rock slab and just kind of imagined how we would camp for the night, talked about our options, and just took in the river. After some deliberation, we decided that if we got any precipitation in the night and we were camping out on this rock slab, that the hill would be too slick to get up and to get out. We really didn't want to winch ourselves up the hill, anchor ourselves, and then winch again. We decided to head on up. I think that clank is the collar popping off of the central axle disconnect, attempting to make the connection, but not maybe getting enough vacuum. Maybe there's a vacuum leak and it's popping right off. So the fork is trying to shove the collar over. If you've ever looked at the central axle disconnect, it's not the best mechanism. And I've considered putting a cable on, but after this video, I actually simply replace the central axle disconnect and it works just fine. If you've been waiting for the two-wheel drive full send, here it is. I think I just earned my dinner. Onto some sausages and beans and chips and dip. Michelle packed me pretty good this time. While I was making dinner, Brian was across the other side of the campsite setting up some ratchet straps to hang a hammock between two trees. And somehow in this process, he actually locked his keys inside of his pickup truck. So we did finally get it unlocked. It was just about dark and we were shining one of my flashlights in there, using his ratchet strap to pull the door apart and trying to get a grip with a sharpened stick onto the button of the electric door locks. We eventually got it right before dark. We were totally exhausted. I think Brian was already exhausted from having a flat tire and getting it repaired. I think this wore him out. I'm not great at recording flubs and flops. You know, sometimes I put some at the end of my video, but yeah, I'm not into watching other people suffer. In Brian's defense, I suspect that something malfunctioned on his key fob because a lot of these vehicles do not lock with the key fob on the inside. His did. That is the sound of victory. Keys retrieved, vehicle running. Brian cooled off for a while in the air conditioning. This is the Cosmito 2 tent that I saw in the outdoor gear review. I like the tent. It's an easy setup. The price was right. It just matched my birthday Amazon gift cards, and the price dropped in my shopping cart, and zing, I just hit the button to buy it as soon as that price dropped. So here's the tent, and I really do. I like it. It's open to air with a screen at night. If you're expecting rain like we are tonight, I'm going to put the cover on, and I like it. I give it a thumbs up. We did some wandering today. We first thought we'd end up at Shores Lake, maybe doing some dispersed camping somewhere in the National Forest near the lake, be able to get up early and go fishing there, but
Instead, we moved on down to the Mulberry River, and we are doing some dispersed camping just above the banks of the river. Beautiful place. Spent some time down by the river today, and had an exciting evening. Brian actually locked his keys in his truck, and we used a ratchet strap to get the door edge pried open, and we whittled down a little stick and got in there and got his unlock button pushed. That was crazy, but we're pretty exhausted. Yeah, exhausted is the word. I'll see you in the morning. Good night. We packed up pretty quietly in the morning and hit the road pretty early. We were lucky enough to get rain in the night, so I guess we could have slept down on the rock slab. But we got out pretty early and tried to beat the weather back home. Hey, thanks for joining me. Make sure you come back next time. I'm going to head up to Bushwhacker Lake at a small conservation area in southwest Missouri. Come along.